Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, a little bit of an informational video if you're just getting started working on small engines. And this can even apply to bigger engines. It's just what I'm working with here is a small Honda 5.5 horse motor. So let's get right into it. There's three things that an engine needs to run: air, fuel, and spark. And that applies to any gasoline engine. So here's how you can diagnose if you're getting all those things. First thing I check for is spark. All you need is a 13/16 socket on these little Honda small engines, and you just simply loosen it. This ratchet's broke. Let me grab a different one. Anyways, you just want to take this all the way out. And now's a good time to actually look at your spark plug, and it'll tell you how good your engine's running. Or if it's been setting for a while, how good it was running. So this hasn't been running in a while. There's rust starting to form on the electrode is what I call it. So yeah, it's a kind of like a rust color, so that tells me if there's been water in that cylinder. Or at least moisture's got up in there. Not too bad because the soot's still there. Anyways, to check for spark, you just grab your little spark plug coil thing, put it on a metal surface, and then you're just going to want to turn your motor over and then look at that spark plug. If you're getting spark, you should see spark just like that. So that is really, really good. Now you can do one of two things here. You can either pour some gas down the cylinder and put your spark plug back in. Don't put a lot of gas, just take a water bottle or something like this and poke a hole in it and then pour gasoline in. Make sure you dump all your water out though. And then you can just turn it over, see if it runs for a minute. If it does, then you can move on to getting your carburetor set up, or you can just skip that and move right onto this. I like to pour gas down there just to make sure I got enough compression that pops it off. But moving on to the fuel side of things, this is your carburetor. It's you should have an air filter on here or something like that. That's what this yellow thing is. So you'll just take this off. It's easier to work on the carburetor once you have this off. Try not to lose your bolts like I did. I just dropped that on the ground. Luckily I was able to find it. And these bolts are loose. You want to make sure that these are tight when you go to start it, because it needs to seal, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. Pull off your breather. And this right here is your carburetor. It is where your fuel line goes into this bowl, and there's a jet in there. Comes up through here when you give it throttle and into your intake valve. Now, how to tell if your carburetor's getting gas is you put gas in your tank. I don't have a tank on here, but you'd put gas in your tank, run your line, turn your gas on, and then loosen either one of these. Oh, it has gas in it. You can also flip it upside down. That's not gas, that's like water. Take a smell. No, that's gas. Okay, so that's also how you tell if you're getting gas. So this thing probably would have ran if I would have turned it over. But that's old gas, because it's been sitting in the bowl for a very long time. So it wouldn't have ran right, probably. This is your choke. When you first start it, it controls your air-fuel ratio. So if you have it all the way closed, you're going to get more fuel than you are air, and then you'll have it open when it's warmed up, because usually how motors work is when it's cold, they want more fuel than air, and then as they warm up, they balance each other out. Now, this right here is really important. These plastic or rubber gaskets, if they get torn, you're going to have to get new ones. And I would get new ones every time you switch it out, because if there's an air leak in between your gasket, you're going to have what you call vacuum leaks, basically. It's going to let air in when there shouldn't be air, and it's going to make your motor run weird, and maybe it won't idle, maybe it won't go full throttle. There's going to be issues. So maybe if you're driving sometimes or riding around on something and it starts running real funny, you want to first clean your carburetor, see if your carburetor's dirty. And if it doesn't clear up, then you probably got a bad gasket, or could be an ignition issue, but you'd start with the easy stuff. Check this gasket. This one's really old. It's it just tore right there. See what? It just broke. Just like that. You're not going to reuse this. You're going to want to get new gaskets, and they're pretty cheap. You can make your own gaskets if you're smart enough, or yeah, it just tore. Oop, wrong way. It just tore in a million different pieces. So you could also use JB Weld, not JB Weld, gasket maker. Use gasket maker. Do not use JB Weld. I use some gasket maker to make it stick better on top of the cardboard gaskets. So we covered spark and air and fuel. Now sometimes your valves, this is your valve cover, your valves might be out of line. That's a whole different thing, but we'll dabble on it real quick. So if your motor's turning over, or if it doesn't feel like it has compression, or it's making some noise up here, it could be running really, really bad. It could be because your valves are out of time with your magneto and your camshaft and all that stuff. Basically, you just take this cover off. You're going to have one side. This side will be an intake valve because it's on the intake side. And this side will be the exhaust valve because it's on the exhaust side. And I would look up a different video. I'm not an expert at valves. I just guess. And if it runs good, it runs good. If it doesn't, then I do my own research. Still working on that. But you just basically get in time. There's specifications. Look up your motor. Look up how much valve lash it needs. They're really simple. It requires like a wrench and stuff like that. But that's no big deal. But then it should run fine. If you have your valves adjusted and you still are having terrible compression, like you put your finger over it and spin it over and there's just nothing there, then you might have bad piston rings. Overall, these motors are super easy to tear into, super easy to tear apart. So take off your, this is a jug. Take off your jug, you just gotta take off your valve covers, or yeah, take off your valve cover, take off your, pull your rockers out, and then pull your lifters out. You'll have 2 rockers, 2 lifters, and then you'll be able to pull this whole thing off. And then you'll get to your jug. This is your head, actually. Sorry, this is your head. This would be your jug. And then take this side cover off. Take your clutch off. Take your clutch off, and then take your side cover off. And then you'll be able to replace your piston rings or do some bottom end work down there, like if you had a bad crankshaft or a camshaft and a crankshaft. This right here is a camshaft out of another one of these. I had a spare motor, but these are what your lifters roll on. Your lifters are up here, and your rockers are what you're adjusting on your valves. So as this spins, so it'd be sitting in here. One side's your intake, one side's your exhaust, and it just spins, causing one to open, one to close, one to close, one to open, and this rides on the camshaft. It's got a little gear down there, and the gears spin together, and once they're on sync, then everything should work. If you think you're out of time down here, you just gotta take the side cover off, and there's this little timing mark right here. If this timing mark is lined up with the other timing mark on the crankshaft, then it's in time. If it's not, just pull this out, move it this way or this way, whatever you need, put it back in there, and you might have to adjust your valve timing again. But yeah, guys, that's gonna do it. It's really not much to motors. Even the big motors, like the hardest part of motor work is like the new motors for me, with all the electronics and stuff. That stuff you might want to take to a mechanic, but anything pre-1987 is pretty simple. I mean, you see me work on my old 351 Windsor. I can tear that apart. I have a 2001 Ford 3.0 and that's standing right there. I'm gonna work on rebuilding this thing. This is for the 2001 Mazda I have out front. I'd like to get some parts for it. Make a video on this pretty soon. I need to turn the crankshaft here. It's super slosh. I don't know if I'll be able to repair that. It's just scars, nothing deep, no deep grooves. It's just scars because it melted a rod melted a rod bearing, I should say. But yeah, if I can tear this thing apart, pull it out, tear it apart, you can too. Basically, it's the same thing on those same systems, just at a bigger scale. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching. Hope this helped in some sort of way. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.